What we have here is the authentic slave pen. It's over 170 years old. It was found in Maysville, Kentucky, which is approximately about an hour and 40 minutes from Cincinnati, Ohio. Everything in here is authentic except for the ceiling and the floor. This was owned by John Anderson. John Anderson was what we would consider today an entrepreneur, but he actually used the purchasing and selling of enslaved people. They would be housed here for several months. When he was ready, usually in the springtime, he would walk them 750 miles to Natchez, Mississippi. They would be walked in a single line, chained together, and they would walk 750 miles, women, children, and men. It would take approximately 37 to 40 days. As they were housed in here, all boys starting at, all males starting at 12 and above would be chained on the second level, what you would look at as a second level. They would be chained and housed there. All women and children under 12 would remain on the first floor. Where I am right now, which is the entrance, this would actually be the hearth where the women would do all of the cooking. There was one way in, one way out, and they were only allowed out when John Anderson or someone affiliated with him would allow them out. The men and the young boys would eat up there, sleep up there. There are times, of course, there were no restrooms in here. They would have to use buckets. And if they could not relieve themselves in that manner, they would have to relieve themselves above, which they would be laying on hay to actually help to absorb. But you can only imagine the heat from being in the South in Kentucky, the heat that went on in here because of the cooking. So, and the heat and the smell and just the emotional turmoil and the physical abuse that the enslaved people would have to deal with in here. The end of the story is that one day one of the men broke loose, one of the enslaved men got loose, and he was running away, and Mr. Anderson got on his horse and was, pursuing him. And then during that time they had harvested the corn, and so corn stalks are hard, and so he fell off the horse and he hit his head, and so he had to he only had daughters, and at that time, if you were not a male, you could not be an heir. So his oldest daughter put an ad in the newspaper to get married, so that all of his property would become hers. And they got married, and so all of the enslaved people and all of the property became hers. They decided that they did not want to be a part of it, and they sold everything and moved west. Mr. Anderson did, for tax purposes, say that he had approximately 30 to 35 enslaved people in here. However, we know that at one time he had about 65. We do have a record of a few of the names that of enslaved people that were housed here. He made approximately, with modern day money, $800,000 a year. So he was a very profitable man, but it was all using and abusing people. It's a place that you come in and you can just feel the emotion, you know, that would take place in here.